Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3, he's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the poles, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and Week 4 is upon us, and we got a matchup of two quarterbacks that were drafted in the 2020 draft class. Actually, the first two quarterbacks that were taken in the 2020 draft class, as we got Tua Tagovailoa of the 3-0 Dolphins and Joe Burrow of the 1-2 Bengals. So this should be an interesting game between these two teams, and I think this is going to be a close, competitive game. I think it's going to come right down to the end, but the difference is going to be the quarterback play. I think Joe Burrow is going to outplay Tua. I think because he's the better quarterback, and I do think Tua is a little bit banged up in this game. I do think this is a game where the Dolphins do move the ball a little bit. I think their defense does get some pressure on Joe Burrow, but I do think Joe Burrow makes enough plays, and I think he's the quarterback who makes more plays and less mistakes, and that's why I got the Bengals giving the Dolphins their first loss and beating them 24-20. But Justin, can the Dolphins D get pressure on Tua and help them get to a 4-0 start?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Just coming off the short week after emotional win, and their defense was on the field for more than 40 minutes, and had to be on the field for more than 90 plays. So I think it'd be very tough for that defense on a short week here to slow down Joe Burrow in that offense that finally got it going. But again, they're 0-2; they had to get going. I think Miami's going to be able to get a pass rush on Joe Burrow this week. They'll probably get a couple sacks, but I think just how many snaps Dolphins played, I think we're going to see some fatigue from the Miami defense this week. And I think, Cincinnati finds a way to win this game. I think, Joe Burrow makes a couple more plays than Tua in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting game. You got the defending AFC champions against a team that's kind of snuck up on people and started 3-0. I mean, if you looked at the Dolphins' schedule, you looked at it, you look at these first four games, you're thinking like, this team's probably going to start 1-3, but right now they're 3-0. They've beaten two legitimate teams. If they win this game, I think you can make a case that they're right there with the Bills and the Chiefs as one of the best teams in the AFC. Right now, I think they're close to being there, but if they win this game, I think this team is absolutely legit.
Yeah, if they start out 4-0, they beat last week. Arguably slowing down one of the top offenses in the league. Again, they're great around the red zone. And got some stops there that were huge. But the way Tua's looked, the way Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are playing right now, you would have to, I was somebody I wasn't that really high on Mike McDaniel, I will admit, but this team has looked really impressive right now. They've been tough to stop offensively for the most part. Again, what they did in the fourth quarter against the Ravens the other day. So yeah, I think you would have to put them at that upper echelon of the AFC with the better teams of the way they play if they win this game, being 4-0. And there's not too many. It's just the Eagles and Dolphins that are undefeated now too. So there's not too many teams either that have there's not everybody's already pretty much taken a loss so far too.
Exactly. And you made a good point about Mike McDaniel. He's done a really good job. I liked how, he kept the defensive coordinator he had was previously on the staff, so they kind of do the same things on defense. And then offensively, Mike McDaniel has been a really, really good coach for Tua. I mean, he was great against the Ravens, and he was good against the Patriots, and he was good against the Patriots, and he was good against the Bills. So I mean, I didn't love the hire. I thought that Brian Flores did a really good job there. But what the Dolphins chose to do was take the coach over the quarterback. They take the quarterback over the coach, and it's worked so far.
Yeah, it absolutely has. And, Tua's totally looked like a different quarterback so far. It is 3 games in. Again, we got to continue to see this progression from him and him kind of developing even more. But, yeah, he's looked really impressive, this offense that they've kind of built for him. Because the last couple of years, it kind of felt like, I don't know if they were afraid to kind of open it up, but it was a lot of short routes. It was a lot of kind of underneath stuff. But this year, they're kind of letting him throw the ball deep and taking some shots. And that's something that the Dolphins really didn't do the last couple of years with Tua.
You made a good point. That 3rd and 22 play against the Bills was direct evidence of that. That 3rd and 22 play to Jalen Waddle, that was direct evidence of that, and that led to the game-winning touchdown there. And we got a comment from Hector. This could be a very good Dolphin. This could be one of the best Dolphins teams we've seen in a long time. And I agree. I think that I'm not going to say they are yet, but they have potential to be. They absolutely have potential to be because they're good defensively. They have a top 10 defense. Their offensive line has improved, getting Tyron Armstead. And their quarterback play has been improved, and obviously they're improved at receiver, getting Tyreek Hill. So Hector is right. This Dolphin team could be one of the best we've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an organization that's really struggled, since Dan Marino kind of retired there. They haven't really been able to get anything going. But yeah, so far they've looked like a really good team. They've made a couple of playoff appearances, but the times that they were, 9-7, like they were, mediocre at best. So yeah, absolutely. This is one of the better Dolphins teams. There hasn't been too many flaws so far with this team. They have looked good. So yeah, it's first time in a while the Dolphins team, definitely one of the better ones in a while.
Absolutely. So we got to move on to the Sunday night game between the two of the best quarterbacks in the league, the Chiefs and the Bucs. And unfortunately, we know what's going on down in Florida with the potential hurricanes. We hope everyone's staying safe down there. The Bucs, they're now training at the Dolphins facility. We don't know where they're going to play this game this week. We don't know where the game's going to play this week. We hope everyone's safe down in Florida. But moving on to the game, I think this is another close competitive game, but I don't think it's going to be as high scoring because it's not going to be as high scoring as people think because these two offenses have struggled a little bit. The Chiefs without Tyreek Hill, yes, they had a really good first week, but the last 2 weeks, they've really only scored, 17 to 20 points. They did score 27 against the Chargers, but 7 of them came on a pick six. And for the Bucs, their offense has really struggled so far. Last week it struggled without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They might not have Chris Godwin or Donovan Smith again this week. So their offense has struggled. And I think it's going to be a little bit more of the same on Sunday night. I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. But I'm going to take the team with the better quarterback. I do think Mahomes does a decent job. He throws a couple touchdown passes, but I do think the Chiefs are going to struggle to run the ball. So the Bucs defense might force Mahomes to turn the ball over. And I do think it's going to be a little bit more. I think it's going to be more of the same for the Bucs offense. I think they'll be a little bit better with Mike Evans back, but I think it's going to be more of the same. I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. But I'm going to take the team with the quarterback that's playing better. I got the Chiefs winning 24-19. But Justin, can Tom Brady bounce back and get the Bucs to 3-1?
It's going to be difficult. I got the Chiefs 21-17. Yeah, first and foremost, hopefully everybody in Florida with the hurricane, doing well, staying safe. I know South Florida, because they play the same spot Tampa Bay does. They're playing at Florida Atlantic now Sunday, so they moved their game from Saturday to Sunday. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Heck, just kind of could the weather change up both teams' practice the game plan for this game?
I think it's more for the Bucs than it is for the Chiefs. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, because I assume by Saturday, the Chiefs are probably be flying. Like, I don't think the Chiefs definitely aren't there yet. I don't, know how, the conditions are going to be by Sunday, but yeah, I definitely for the Bucks, practicing in Miami and then having to come back home probably Saturday. That's got to be a little weird that you got a home game, but you're still practicing away from, your home facilities and all that. So yeah, I definitely think that it does probably affect the Bucks more right now than it does for the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because the Bucks are practicing in Miami. I think that they're probably going to have to travel for this game, and the Bucks got to worry about, and rightfully so, the Bucks players got to worry about their families too. A lot of them live in the Tampa area, so they got to worry about their families. So there's a lot on those Bucks players' minds this week. So I think it's definitely going to affect the Bucks more than the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely. I do know the Buccaneers, they did bring a second plane for all the family members that didn't live down in Tampa.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea to move them to Miami for the week. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, so that's kind of one, but yeah, in most cases that definitely on the players' minds that that they being away in that hurricane and all that because it's being carried forward. But yeah, absolutely, there's a lot kind of going on in Tampa's mind. You even think your house too. How that's doing, and
Oh, I know.
So yeah, it's definitely probably a very difficult week right now for the Bucks.
It's a brutal week, and there's a lot more to think about than football, and rightfully so. Football is the lowest priority right now, and rightfully so for a lot of these Bucks players.
Yeah, it is. And coming off a tough loss, yeah, it's a reality check for a lot of these guys. Just kind of like everybody else in that Tampa Bay area. The east coast of Florida right now, it's getting hit by the hurricane. Yeah, it's it's definitely a real taste of reality, I guess, for them. Yeah, it's definitely difficult. There's a lot kind of going through in your mind and your city that you want all because a lot of fans down there. You want all your fans to be safe and hopefully they evacuated too. So yeah, there's definitely a lot on the Bucks' mind, and it's definitely a tough week for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But getting to the game, I think the one thing we gotta discuss if the Bucks lose, who controls the NFC South? We got a comment from Hector. I think it's still definitely the Bucks. I think it's absolutely the Bucks. I think the Saints are because if the Bucks lose, they lose 2 games to the Packers and the Chiefs. You're losing 2 games to Super Bowl contenders. I definitely think it's the Bucks because the Saints, I feel like the Saints are an average team. Winston's banged up. The Saints are an average team. They don't have their left tackle. They could potentially have Kamara suspended at a point this season. It doesn't look like Winston and Michael Thomas have gotten on the same page yet. So I definitely think it's the Bucs. I feel like the other 2 teams in the division, the Panthers, they're just not good enough on the offensive line or at the quarterback position. And then the Falcons, they're rebuilding. So I definitely think the Bucs, even though they would be 2-2 if they lose, I think they're still the heavy favorite in the NFC South.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The Saints really haven't put together yet. Again, like the Saints really could be 3-0. Again, the Panthers, I thought they were the better team, but they turned the ball over 3 times. And, against the Bucs, they turned the ball over a ton in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Tampa Bay still controls their destiny in that division until the Saints put it together. But yeah, as you mentioned, Winston's being, it's playing through some stuff. You wonder at one point if they do go to Andy Dalton and just see if that's the better option maybe soon. Because I do think that's a team that could still make the playoffs. But yeah, Michael Thomas and James haven't been on the same page yet. But yeah, absolutely. I do think it's still the Tampa Bay's division to lose.
Absolutely. But the big story is Tom Brady, and he has not played well through 3 weeks. He only has 3 touchdown passes. And that's the least amount of touchdown passes he's had since that infamous 2014 season when everybody was writing him off after that Monday night game against Kansas City. Is it time to be concerned about Tom Brady? I know in the Packer game, he didn't have a lot of his pieces around him. He didn't have Donovan Smith. He didn't have Chris Godwin. He didn't have Mike Evans. So he didn't have some of his pieces around him. But I think there definitely is cause for concern with Tom Brady with the way he's played through 3 weeks.
I definitely think there is. It seems like with everybody out too, their offensive, it's just not in rhythm. He's not in rhythm with a lot of these guys. I want to see when these guys get healthy, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and what happens. Because then I think they'll start clicking. I think Brady's going to be fine. What we saw him do last year, I just can't see that much of a downgrade from, because last year he looked like the same old Tom Brady. I just I don't know if he could have that bad of digression this year. But But I do think there is a little bit. It just doesn't seem like their rhythm. They're not taking too many shots this year, which is odd. But I don't know if that's just because everybody's hurt with the offensive line being banged up. They're just trying to get Brady get rid of that ball quickly. It is interesting. I definitely think there is a little bit of concern. But I think Tom Brady and this Bucs team, I think they're good enough to figure it out, in that they'll find a way to kind of get out of the slump that they've kind of been offensively.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I got to see him with all of his pieces. Now, do I think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback this year? No, but I think he's still with his pieces. I think he very easily could be a top 10 quarterback, and that is more than good enough for the Bucs to be the favorite in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because again, you go around all the NFC teams and everybody's got their own flaws. So yeah, absolutely. I think everybody comes back for Tampa Bay. They go with all those weapons back. I think Tom Brady's be fine. Yeah, he's not going to put up the numbers he did last year. But yeah, he doesn't need to with all these weapons. Their defense is good enough their defense is good enough to kind of help out their offense, when there's tough weeks like they have been last couple of weeks for the Bucs. So yeah, I think Tampa Bay, Tom Brady's a top 10 quarterback still. That's plenty. That's enough for the Bucs to win a Super Bowl this year.
Absolutely. So now going from Tom Brady's current team to his old team, the Patriots travel to Green Bay to face the Packers. Before we talk about that game, the big story is Mac Jones, who suffered a high ankle sprain at the end of their loss to the Ravens last week. And assuming that he's out for 6 weeks, let's just assume he's out until the bye week. And you look at who the Patriots play. You look at their schedule. They got the Packers this week. They got the Lions. They got the Bears. They got the Browns. They got the Jets on the road and the Colts.
Yep.
I think with that schedule, I think the Patriots are going to go 2-4. I mean, Bailey Zappi might be starting by the end of that stretch, but I think they're going a 2-4 in that stretch. I do think Bill is going to figure out a way to beat, in those 3 games against the Jets, Lions, and Bears. I do think Bill's going to figure out a way to be 2-1 in those games against those 3 teams. But I do have them going 2-4, so I think they're going to be 3-6 when Mac Jones gets back on November 20th against the Jets.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go 3-3. I think they can beat the Lions. I think they can either beat the Lions or the Browns on the road.
The Lions are at home. Browns are on the road.
Yeah. I think they could get either one of those. I think they can beat the Bears. I just think I think Bill's going to make Justin Fields. Again, that game's probably going to be 10-7, but I think they can win that. And I think they could beat the Jets as well. That'll be tough. I think they could go 3-3 in this stretch. I'd rather see Bailey Zappi play than Brian Hoyer. I don't know, because I don't know how many, because the offense, they kind of opened up the offense a little bit, I thought. I know Mac's kind of struggling on that, but I like the way the offense is playing if they can run the football. Again, I don't think they'll be able to do anything this week, but I kind of want to see Bailey Zappi because I think if he's ready, I think he probably gives us a better shot than Hoyer because Zappi can actually throw the football. I can't stand Hoyer, but I think they can go 3-3. I think their defense is good enough. They're not playing any Detroit's, after this week against the Packers, their best probably offense they're facing is like the Lions right now. Maybe the Colts.
Exactly. The Lions. I think it's the Lions.
Yeah. Right now, yeah. So I think they can find a way with that defense to go 3-3. Again, I know their defense isn't great, but they fit, and Bill always finds a way to keep games interesting and close. I think they could find a way to go 3-3. I am kind of more optimistic, even though the way they should have won Sunday, but I am a little. I still have a little bit of optimism that with that schedule, they can find a way to go 3-3.
I think the sad part of Mac Jones going down now is that offense showed promise in that game. I know the Ravens defense hasn't played well, but that offense definitely showed promise on Sunday. The way they ran the football with Stevenson and Harris and N'Keal Harry. He's starting to figure out chemistry with N'Keal Harry, who I thought was definitely going to be the Patriots' best receiver. So he started to figure out chemistry with N'Keal Harry. The negatives of Mac Jones. My bad. Devontae Parker. I'm sorry about that, Devontae Parker. I got confused there. But yeah, he started to develop chemistry with Devontae Parker, and the run game was good. But the issue though with Mac Jones was those 2 interceptions, especially the three interceptions. One of them was at the end of the game where he got hurt. But the second interception was absolutely inexcusable. And if you're going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league, you cannot throw that interception in the red zone. But there were some positives of Mac Jones, like the chemistry with Devontae Parker in that game and that drive before the half. So there were some positives with Mac Jones, but that interception was a major, major negative there. But it is kind of sad that he's going to be out when the Patriots offense was kind of finding their way a little bit on Sunday.
Yeah, I know, that's the disappointing part. Now, hopefully, if he's out for 6 weeks, he can kind of, because I don't know if he's just not, if he's getting baited, because that first interception on Sunday, the linebacker picked it off. He was just kind of baiting him. And then the one with the safety, I don't know if he just didn't see the safety or he just overthrew it. I don't know if he's not reading the coverages right. Now, it would help to have an actual offensive coach to kind of help him through
exactly.
this.
Yeah, exactly. You have Joe Judge, and I know I know all about Joe Judge, and you got Matt Patricia. You have no offensive coach to help him go through, and Bill's not an offensive guy, so he's really nobody. He doesn't have like a McDaniels or an O'Brien there to help him get through this.
No, and Brian Hoyer was probably the guy, but now he's got to do his own work now to kind of get ready to start now. So I think Hoyer was probably the guy for him. But yeah, now he's kind of got to worry about, he's got to lead the team now. So yeah, I have liked how they've opened it up, and it's been, and I don't know if this fits Mac, because last year McDaniel's offense is about trying to get receivers open and all that. This year it's all about the 50-50 ball. And, Mac Jones, because he doesn't have all the tools that, top NFL quarterbacks have. So I don't know if the 50-50 ball really suits him. But yeah, he's got to read the coverages better. It cost them that, the Aguilar fumble. The Patriots beat themselves, and they rarely do that. Like, that was not a Bill Belichick team the other day. And yeah, it cost them because they really could have been 2-1. I did really like the offense that game. I thought they played better. I liked how Mac was able to run a bit, but again, I guess they get him hurt. But yeah, I did think they showed progress. But yeah, I think it definitely stinks now, especially because he's had a kind of a down year, Mac. He hasn't really progressed, and now he's going to miss, maybe at least 6 weeks here. I do think it hurts kind of his development here that he's going to be down a bit here.
And you look at the stretch too. I mean, there's the Lions, the Bears, and the Jets in a 4-game stretch. Those are games where he could pad his stats. Now he's not going to have those. It looks like he's not going to have those games.
Yeah, which is disappointing because, with the way the offense is going, again, Detroit's defense isn't great. The Browns' defense is nothing that we expected coming in. The Bears have a pretty good defense. The Jets' defense isn't that great, and the Colts haven't been that great defensively. The Colts have been decent defensively. But yeah, actually, Bill just said that, he's still day-to-day, which is, of course, Bill. And they already trained Mac Jones very well on the media stuff. He does not give anything away either now. But yeah, they keep trying to say that it'll be day by day. I highly doubt he plays this week. But yeah, it's with that stretch, it's very frustrating that he's going to be down because it definitely would have helped his development, getting on rhythm. Because I think without having Myers the other day, actually probably helped him. I do think that because Myers has been his guy, and it was nice that he got Parker involved. Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne caught a couple passes. So yeah, I do think it hurts now that he's not going to be here for the stretch.
Absolutely. Now, getting to the game on Sunday, I think this is going to be a brutal game in Green Bay. I think that the Packers are going to shut down the running game of Harris and Stevenson, and then I think that Brian Hoyer is going to throw a pick or two, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to throw a couple touchdown passes, and that's why I got the Packers winning this one. I got to win it by 3 scores. I got the Packers beating the Patriots 30-9. But Justin, can the Pats' run game and their defense carry them to an upset win?
I think it to be very difficult. Now, the Packers have been playing really slow offensively this year, so that may help the Patriots out a bit. If the Packers kind of do play on that slower side, because that's kind of the game the Patriots are going to want to play. But I think it to be very difficult. I'd be shocked if Green Bay doesn't stack the box with 8 guys and just kind of say, here, Brian, Hoyer's going to have to beat us through the air. I don't see that happening. I see Hoyer throwing at least 2-3 interceptions. I think it to be a tough day. I think that defense is going to keep them competitive for a bit. But I just don't think the offense is going to help them out. I think the offense is going to put the defense in tough spots for the Patriots this week. So, yeah, I'd be shocked if we score a touchdown this week with Hoyer at quarterback. So, yeah, I got the Packers win this one 21-6.
Yeah, it should be a really, really tough game for New England this week. But we're moving on to my team. We got the Bears heading to MetLife Stadium to face the Giants. And I think the Giants, I don't think their offense scores a lot of points this week. I do think Saquon Barkley is a good game on the ground. But the problem with this Giant team, you saw it Monday night, this offensive line is still a bottom 10 offensive line in the NFL, even with them drafting Evan Neal. And Evan Neal was terrible. DeMarcus Lawrence completely owned Evan Neal on Monday night. And the problem with the Giants, which no one saw coming, was the issue with this receiving core. Obviously, Sterling Shepard's out for the year. But Kenny Golladay has been absolutely terrible and the coaching staff has no trust in him. I mean, when your best receivers are going into the game are Richie James and David Sills, you know you're not going to score a lot of points in the game. But the saving grace for the Giants is they're playing another bad offense in the Chicago Bears. So I do think Saquon has a big game on the ground. I do think this team moves the ball because Saquon has a big game on the ground, but I do think they kick like they've been doing, kicking a lot of field goals and not scoring touchdowns. And that's not all on Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones actually played well this year. I think the problem with this team offensively has been the offensive line and having one of the worst receiving cores in football. I think that's been the problem with this team this year. And in this game on the defensive side of the ball, I do think the Giants are going to get pressure on Justin Fields, force a turnover, because Fields is good for a turnover or two a game. I do think the Bears do have a little bit of success on the ground, but not the success they had last week. I do think Kayvon Thibodeau is definitely more active in this game, and I think Ojulari and Thibodeau are definitely more active in this game because the Bears' offensive line is not good at all. They were sacked 5 times by the Texans last week. You know the Texans have a good pass rush. They were sacked 5 times by the Texans last week. But I do think this game comes down to the end where the defense has got to make a stop. And every time they've had to make a stop this year, this defense has done it. They did it in week one against the Titans. They gave them a chance. They gave the Giants offense a chance. In week 2 against the Panthers, they got that stop. Even last week, they got a stop to give the Giants some hope at the end. But I think it comes right down to the end where the defense is going to have to make a stop, and I think they make that stop. And that's why I got the Giants beating the Bears 19-13 on Sunday afternoon. But Justin, can the Bears run game and can their defense carry them to an upset win?
I think they possibly could, but I hit the Giants bouncing back this week, 2017. Tech just comment, yeah, he agreed with you, the no protection with Jones, and then the Giants will kick 6 field goals in the red zone.
I wouldn't be surprised. They score 18 points and there's 6 field goals. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
No, me neither. It really wouldn't. You got to punch it in, but yeah, I think this Giants defense. I think for this Bears offense, I think it's a tough matchup going against the Giants because, I think Martindale loves to bring pressure. I think they're going to do that a lot to Justin Fields. I think Fields is going to, I think David Montgomery's going to have some yards, but I don't think he's going to have many. But I think for the Bears, you got to kind of get off to a fast start. The Giants have kind of, the Giants have kind of gone out slow in some of these games. Yeah, they've gotten out slow to some of these games. So I think if you could score a touchdown early in this game, and go up and have to make the Giants come back from behind, which again, as you mentioned, their wide receiver core really, with that, it's going to be tough to kind of move the ball, throw the football. So I think for the Bears, if they get up to a lead, it'll be good. Force a couple of turnovers for Justin Fields, and that offense is really going to help them out. But I think the Giants are better than the Chicago Bears. I think they're a fraudulent 2-1 team, and I do think the Giants bounce back this week.
Oh, the Bears are definitely a fraudulent 2-1 team, and they won one game in a monsoon against the 49ers, and they got beat by a couple scores to the Packers, and then they won a game against Houston when the quarterback Davis Mills threw a terrible pick. They beat one of the worst teams in football, so they definitely are a fraudulent 2-1 team. But you made a good point about getting ahead, and I think for either team, this is a game where you get ahead early because you have 2 bad offensive lines, and if you can get pressure on both quarterbacks and force them to make mistakes, I think you're definitely going to win this game. I think the team that goes up by a couple scores is definitely going to win this game. Because the reality of these offenses is these are not offenses that are built because they don't have good offensive lines. But the bigger story is neither team has great receiving core, so neither of these offenses are built to make any kind of comeback. So whoever gets in front early in this game, I think wins this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Yeah, because I don't know, dude. Like the Bears just not trust Justin Fields to throw the football because it's like they don't throw the ball. I mean, I think the wide receivers they only have like 279 yards total between the whole wide receiver core. It's like they're just it's like they're afraid of letting Justin Fields kind of throw the ball for whatever reason. So yeah, if they get like even the Packer game, they were behind, they kept running the football. So. Yeah, I think if the Giants can get out in front, the Bears really haven't shown that they're really going to trust Justin Fields right now to throw the football. I don't know if that's kind of the reason or not, but yeah, I think the Giants kind of get up ahead, or whoever gets up ahead has got a great shot at winning this game.
And for the Giants, if they want to compete for a playoff spot, they're not going to win the division. I mean, what I've seen the first 3 weeks, they're not going to win the division. That's going to be Philly or Dallas. But if they want to compete for a wild card, this is a game they got to win. They got to win this game at home against a below-average team in the Chicago Bears. They got to win this game because you look at what the Giants got coming up next. They got the Packers in London. That's going to be a brutal game. Then they have to play. They don't even have a bye week after London. They got to play the Ravens and Lamar Jackson the week after they go to London. That I looked at that game on the schedule. I think that is the toughest game on the schedule just because of the circumstances and the quarterback they're playing against. So that's going to be a brutal game in week 6. And then they go to Jacksonville. So there's a very good chance that the Giants don't win this game, that they lose 5 in a row.
It definitely is. It's definitely a tough stretch coming off the way Jacksonville's been playing. It's a lot of airline miles coming up for the Giants. Going to London, going to London, then coming back home, and then going to Jacksonville, and then you got to go back out to the West Coast to play Seattle. So it's a lot of travel. I remember we talked about it when the schedule came out that this is going to be a tough month for the Giants to really try to get anything going because there's going to be a lot of travel, and it's going to be a big test for the Giants to kind of see if they do, especially playing after the Packers, that you got a great team in the Ravens. And again, you got Martindale, who knows Lamar Jackson probably better than any other defense coordinator in the league, which, could help, but, he's a tough guy to stop. But yeah, it's a brutal schedule. In October, the NFL did not do them any favorites.
Not at all. And one final thing with the Giants, with Shepard tearing his ACL, this now becomes a really big game for Kenny Golladay, because you're going to think Kenny Golladay is going to see some time. He's got to have a really big game. He's got to step up in the next couple of weeks, or the Giants are going to move on from him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's getting $72 million over the next couple of years. He's been a big disappointment. He thought, he was going to be the guy that was going to come in, beat Daniel Jones, number one receiver, kind of have that duo for a while. But yeah, he just hasn't, they just don't trust him. He's barely getting out on the field. So it's been a big disappointment. Yeah, the Giants are going to probably have to cut him loose. If they don't get it going with him soon, you're going to have to. It's just, can't wait. You're going to have to, because it's disappointing that you're paying them this much money and they haven't got the production out of him.
They're going to cut him loose. They don't even care about the dead cap hit, because this isn't their guy. This is not their guy. This is not Dave. This was Dave Gettleman signing. This is not Joe Shane or Brian Daboll's guy. If this guy doesn't step up in the next couple of weeks, he's getting traded at the trade deadline. Yeah,
again, you're definitely, maybe again somebody else out there will give you some value, because there may be something left that a team could can find out of them. But yeah, even if it's just for a late round pick, it's better than just kind of cutting them loose and just getting nothing for him. So yeah, absolutely. If you could trade him late round pick, it's better than nothing.
Absolutely. So we got an NFC East matchup in Dallas as the Commanders, the 1-2 Commanders, face the 2-1 Cowboys. And I think this is a game where if the Cowboys keep doing what they've done the last 2 weeks, they'll win this game, and they'll win it by 2 scores. I think they're going to run the ball with Pollard and Zeke. I think Cooper Rush is going to manage the game, and I think defensively they're going to get a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz. That offensive line for the Commanders was absolutely terrible on last Sunday against the Eagles, allowing 9 sacks. I think they're going to force Wentz to turn the ball over a couple of times. I think Cooper Rush is going to manage the game. And I think that the Cowboys are going to win it. I think they're going to win it by 2 scores. I got the Cowboys beating the Commanders 24-13. But Justin, can Carson Wentz have a bounce back game against another and get Washington 2-2?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a rough day for him. I got the Cowboys win this game 24-10. I just think Micah Parsons is going to absolutely destroy that offensive line. I think I'd be shocked if he does not have 2 or 3 sacks in that game. Again, he's got 2 seconds to throw. It's tough to even, it's tough to put a ton of blame on Wentz, because he just, there's no time. They're going to have to try to throw a bunch of screens or just try to run a bunch of slant routes and just have him get rid of the ball in, 2-3 seconds and then longer. And he's going to have a couple of Dallas Cowboys in his face. So I think it's to be a tough one for the Washington. They're just going to have to, Wentz is going to have to get out, have to get the ball out quickly. But I still don't think that's going to help. I think, maybe Dallas turns it over once or twice and maybe helps Washington get some points on the board, but I don't see that Washington offense having much success against Dallas' defense.
No, and I think for Dallas, they got the formula. They got the formula down. Run the ball, play good defense. So when Dak Prescott comes back, I don't care. This team should not be throwing the ball more than they're running the football. Unless they're way behind, the game plan should be run the ball with Zeke and Pollard, set up play action for Dak Prescott, and rely on your defense. Because this is a formula. If they follow this formula, this will be a playoff team. If they play the way they did the last 2 weeks, they do what they've done the last 2 weeks, this team will definitely, looking at the schedule, this team will be better than we think they were going to be, and they will be a playoff team if they keep this formula going.
Yeah, absolutely. They've looked really good after week 1, and Cooper Rush has done a pretty good job. He throws some pretty nice balls. I know CD Lamb, that touchdown he dropped there. Didn't help. But yeah, the defense is playing really well. I thought maybe they'd take a step back this year, and because they had so many turnovers last year, but they really haven't. And Parsons has been as good as he was last year. And yeah, run the football, that duo with Pollard and Elliott, and just kind of keeping opponents on their heels is worked beautifully for the Dallas. And yeah, they should just keep up that formula, because I know they said, oh, Dak could probably play this week, but I don't think you'll need Dak for a game. I don't think you'll need him this week against Washington. So I think you're perfectly fine with Cooper Rush. He's played really well. Give him the opportunity to play again. And yeah, Dallas just keep doing what they're doing, because they've looked good, and their offense has done enough, and their defense is playing really well.
Do not rush Dak Prescott back. This team could, even if they lose that Rams game and that Eagles game with Cooper Rush, and if they say they beat the Commanders and they lose to the Eagles and the Rams, they're still 3-3. They very easily can make the playoffs. Do not rush Dak Prescott back. You want Dak Prescott to be 100% in January, so this team can make a run. But Jerry Jones is going to get in the way, of course. But if you're Jerry Jones, stay. I know he's not going to do this, but stay out of the way. And do not rush Dak Prescott back. That's the worst thing you could do. The worst thing you could do is rush Dak Prescott back, and this team start to lose. This team start to lose. So they really should not rush Dak Prescott back.
No, absolutely not. Your team's playing really well right now. I wouldn't. Yeah, you got a chance of the playoffs. Yeah, even with Dak being LA next week on the road is going to be tough. Even in Philly, that'll be a tough one. Again, they definitely could win that one. But yeah, that you got a couple of difficult ones coming up. But yeah, I wouldn't rush them back. I think there's definitely a chance that they still make the playoffs going 3-3. I think they're good enough. I think, what they've done so far early in this year, they look pretty good outside of week one. So, yeah, absolutely. I think Dallas, could definitely get there. I would not rush Dak back. You're paying them so much money. Let them get healthy. Because Cooper Rush hasn't given you a reason to pull him yet. It's not like Cooper Rush is playing absolutely horrible and losing games. Until he does that, don't have Dak come on the field. If Dak's 100% in the next couple of weeks, then yeah, switch him out for Rush. But if he's still not 100%, Cooper Rush is still doing what he's got to do. Just let Dak take his time to come back.
Absolutely. We got a big AFC matchup in Baltimore as the 2-1 Bills face the 2-1 Ravens. We got a matchup of two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I do think the weather, it's supposed to rain in Baltimore on Sunday, could hurt. This game could be lower scoring than people think, but I still think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. I still think Josh Allen's going to play well against the Ravens defense that struggled. I do think Lamar Jackson is going to get his yards on the ground. I think he's going to come right down to the end where the Bills got to make that play on defense against Lamar Jackson. I think they do it. And that's why I think the Bills go to 3-1 and beat the Ravens 28-24. But Justin, can Lamar keep his great year going and lead the Ravens to their third win against an AFC East team?
I think they do. I got Baltimore win this one 31-27. I think with how banged up Buffalo is right now defensively in the secondary, I think Lamar has a pretty good day. I think he gets the ball. The tight end Mark Andrew burned us last week. I think they have a good game once again on the ground. I think they keep, play well. I think their defense plays well enough in this game to make enough stops. I think Lamar Jackson he's a totally different animal to stop with his with his arm now too, that just has come along the last couple of years. And, he runs like he's a running back, that, can throw the football really well. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Buffalo. Again, Buffalo had a lot of chances last week. But I just think with how banged up Buffalo's in the secondary, I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a pretty good day through the air. I know Baltimore secondary is not great, but right now with everything that the Bills just being totally banged up, I'll take Baltimore at home to find a way to get a win. Being at home, I like Baltimore. I like the way they've kind of bounced back last week after Miami. I think they do enough against that defense to find a way to win.
Yeah, it should be a really exciting game. I mean, I hope the weather is actually better than it's supposed to be, because if it's a good weather day, I think it's going to be kind of similar to the Miami game. Not as much scoring because the Bills defense is a little bit better than the Dolphins, but I think it's going to be great to see these two quarterbacks go at it. I think it's a very good chance of the Ravens winning this game. I think one thing a lot of people aren't really talking about is the Bills have lost 7 consecutive one-score games. If they lose another one-score game here, I think we can make the argument the Bills are kind of a front-running team.
Yeah, I did not know about this. That the 7 straight one possession loss game. That's not that's you gotta be able to close out games. And yeah, that's a big problem. That's something too. Could be psychological. You're if you're playing a lot of these tight games, you can't find a way to close it. Kind of gets on you. And it's difficult. So yeah, that's a big problem. That's actually a really good fact. I did not know that, but that definitely could be a problem.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, last year the Bills' record was, I think, if you count the playoff game against the Patriots, they were 12-0 in games that were that they won by 2 scores or more, and they were 0-7. I think they were 0 and they were 11-6. They were 0-7. I think 0-6 in 1-score games. 0-6. That's an interesting stat. That's a stat that definitely can keep the Bills from the Super Bowl.
It definitely could. That's something that could really affect late in games. You can't find that again because the Dolphins gave them every possible opportunity to win that game Sunday, and they still couldn't take it from them. So absolutely, I think it's something that could be a big factor for them down the stretch in January when you play some of these good teams like Mahomes in Kansas City late. Where Mahomes is going to make the big play. Again, you could even see that maybe the team with Baltimore that's got another really good quarterback. Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So yeah, absolutely. That could be something where there's so many good teams in the AFC that they may take advantage of that from you if you can't pull out close games. And I see Hector's comment, call me crazy, but I think the Dolphins game is going to dictate the Bills game. I think it could, depending on the weather. I definitely could. Baltimore kind of plays keep away, runs the football well enough. I don't know if Baltimore's defense is going to be able to hang on if they're out there for 40 minutes, but I could see it depending on the weather. If it's raining hard and all that, then I could see that maybe a lower scoring game.
Yeah, that definitely could. And if you're the Ravens, you definitely want it to be a lower scoring game.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do because how much of a shootout do they want to be, or how much of a shootout? Yeah, the Baltimore wants to be in with that defense. That defense it hasn't been great in the secondary, but I think it's a defense that they could make a couple stops. But I think they're more confident that game could be low scoring, and they could keep Buffalo and they could keep Josh Allen off the field. I think they'll probably feel a lot more comfortable playing that type of game.
Absolutely. So we'll run through the slate pretty quickly now, and we got a game in England. Is it London this week? Saints and Vikings.
Yeah,
I think it's in London. You got a game in London between the Saints and the Vikings, and I think this is a really, really close competitive game, which comes right down to the end. I think Kamara will have a big game on the ground. I do think Alexander Madison will have some yards on the ground too, but I think the difference is going to be the quarterback, and I think Kirk Cousins makes less plays and more mistakes. And I do think Kirk Cousins does what he did last week and leads the Vikings to a game-winning drive, either leading them to the game-winning field goal or the game-winning touchdown. And that's why I got the Vikings beating the Saints 24-23. But, Justin, can Kamara and Winston help the Saints snap their 2-game losing streak?
I think they do. 23-20, got the Saints win this one. I know the Saints already flew out to London. They did it right after the game in Carolina, so they're going to be out there for a week. I don't think the Vikings have left yet. I think it's something if James Winston could, because they were the better team against Carolina the other day. If they could just protect the football, Kamara could do enough on the ground, which I think they can because the Vikings defense hasn't been great. If Winston protects the football, and I haven't liked the Vikings D, I think they can find a way to win this game. I think the Saints defense keeps them in it. I'll take the Saints to find a way to win. Usually the London game is always a weird one. It's kind of who can prep better for, kind of the game itself and kind of, with the early kick and all that. And I think Dennis Allen will do that with the Saints this week.
AFC South matchup in Indianapolis as the Titans travel to Indy to face the Colts. And I'm taking the team who I think is going to run. They got a matchup of 2 of the top running backs in the league, but I'm going to take the team that's going to run the football better. And I think that's going to be the Indianapolis Colts because I think Jonathan Taylor, just like Saquon Barkley did, I think Taylor's going to have a big day on the ground, make life easier for Matt Ryan. I do think Tannehill, the Colts are going to contain Henry and force Tannehill to turn the ball over a couple times. That's why I got the Colts winning a close one. I got the Colts going to 2-1-1. Beating the Titans 27-20, but Justin, can Derrick Henry carry the Titans to their 4th straight win over the Colts?
I think they do. We got Titans 23-20. I think Indy last week they still weren't great. The Kansas City defense or special teams kind of hurt them. Kansas City had a couple of opportunities. And Indy won kind of a game that they had to win, desperation game. I think Ryan Tannehill makes enough plays. Derrick Henry 2 out of 3 times has gone over 100 yards against this Colts defense. I think Ryan Tannehill in that offense finds a way with Derrick Henry leading the charge. I'll take Tennessee to go on the road. They seem like they've had the Colts number the last couple of years, so I think Tennessee finds a way. I think maybe the win last week kind of got them going, and they'll find a way to go into Indy and get the win.
We got an AFC matchup in Pittsburgh as the 1-2 Jets face the 1-2 Steelers. But in this game, I'm taking the better coach football team of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they have success on the ground with Najee Harris. I think they forced Zach Wilson to turn the ball over a couple times in this game. And let me tell you something. If the Steelers lose this game, Mitch Trubisky has got to be out as the starting quarterback, and Kenny Pickett's got to be in. I think Trubisky's got to win this game to keep his job as a starting quarterback. But I do think he will, and I think the Steelers win 23-13. But, Justin, can Zach Wilson lead the Jets to an upset win in his first game back?
I don't think he does. I got Pitt win this one as well, 20-10. I just think this is a tough assignment for Zach Wilson to come back. You're playing a defense that hasn't played as well. I know without TJ Watt, but Pittsburgh, if they want any hope to making the playoffs and staying in with the AFC North division, they got to win this game. I think Wilson's probably get sacked a couple times. I definitely think he's going to throw a couple interceptions or two. And I think that helps the Pittsburgh offense in a good field position a couple times. And I'm with you. I think you got to pull the trigger. If Pittsburgh starts 1-3, you got to go with Kenny Pickett. Because I do think, I definitely think that team they go 1-3 to be very hard to make the playoffs. But that's a team that, with the roster when Watt gets healthy, that's a team that could battle for one of the last kind of AFC wildcard spots.
We got an AFC matchup in Houston as the 1-2 Chargers, surprising 1-2 Chargers, face the 1-2 Texans. No, 2-1 Texans. And I think in this game, I do think the Texans stay in the game early, but in the second half, I do think the Chargers get some pressure on Davis Mills, force some turnovers. I do think Austin Eckler is a big game on the ground, and that's why I got the Chargers rebounding this week and going to 2-2 and beating the Texans 30-17. But Justin, can Davis Mills lead the Texans to their second straight win over the Chargers?
I get the Chargers 27-20 this week. I think, Davis Mills played really well against them last year. I know he made a horrible interception on Sunday. A couple touchdowns last year, and he was 21 for 27. He played well. But, yeah, I just, he can't make the same mistakes. I know that Chargers secondary is better than it was last year. It usually kind of run they haven't been able to run the football either this week. If Mills can make enough plays, I think they could win this game, but I think it'd be very tough. I don't think the Chargers are going to sleepwalk like they did last year against the team, being 1-2. The Chargers have to win this game, and I think they find a way. I think it'll be a tough day for Davis Mills to get anything going. I think it'll be a tough day for that Texans offense to get going.
Got an NFC matchup in Detroit as the Seahawks travel to Detroit to face the Lions, and I think this is a close, competitive game. But I do think that the running game of Jamal Williams is going to be a factor. I think that he's going to run the ball well. I think Jared Goff's going to throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes against the bad Seattle defense. I do think Geno Smith moves the ball, but I do think the Lions defense forced him to make a mistake or two. And that's why I got the Lions winning this game and going to 2-2. I got them to win it 31-24 over the Seahawks. But Justin, can Geno Smith lead the Seahawks to their second win of the season?
No, I think Detroit beats them this week 31-23. With how bad Detroit defense has played, I think Seattle keeps this thing close for a while, but I think Geno Smith just makes a couple of mistakes in this game. I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, could have some big plays and rack up some yards in this one. But I don't see Seattle's defense keeping this thing close enough for Seattle to win this game, because I think Seattle, they got to play in a low-scoring one to win this game, and I don't think their defense is good enough to slow down the Lions right now.
We got Doug Peterson heading back to Lincoln Financial Field this week as the 2-1 Jaguars face the 3-0 Eagles. I do think this is a close competitive game now. I do think the Jaguars have success on the ground and they stay in the game. But I do think Jalen Hurts has a really good game too. I think it's close and competitive, but I'm going to take the team with the better roster, and I'm going to take the quarterback who I think is going to make less mistakes in the game. And that's why I got the Eagles being the only undefeated team in the NFL after week 4. I got them beating the Jaguars 23-20. But Justin, can Doug Peterson get a win his first game back in Philly?
To be difficult, I get the Eagles as well, 24-21. I think, they want to win this game. The Eagles have gone out to a fast 72 of their 86 points this year have come in the first half. If Jacksonville wants to stay in this game, you got to slow them down. They've, or score with them early. And Trevor Lawrence is really, really, really good. He's probably going to have to match what Jalen Hurts and that Eagles offense does. James Robinson has looked really solid coming off the torn Achilles. I think this should be a really good game. But I think Philly at home finds a way to win this one.
We got the Browns traveling down to Atlanta to face the Falcons, and I think this is going to be a close, competitive game. But I think the difference is I'm going to take the team with the better roster. That's why I think the Browns win a close one here. I got the Browns going to 3-1, beating the Falcons 24-21. But Justin, can Cordell Patterson carry the Falcons to their second straight win?
I think it's possible, but I get the Browns as well, 27-24. Patterson, the do-it-all guy out of wide receiver, running back. He can do it all. They're going to need him too. But I think Mariota makes a couple of mistakes. I think the Browns offense is going to be able to capitalize. I do think the Falcons are going to move the ball because I'm not impressed with this Browns defense. I know they're kind of banged up right now. Clowney and Garrett are questionable right now. So I think they do move the ball. But I think Atlanta, like they usually do, find a way to lose a game. And I think Cleveland takes advantage of it and wins.
Got an AFC matchup in Vegas this week as the 2-1 Broncos travel to the 0-3 Raiders. And I think this is a really, really close, competitive game. But I think the difference in this game is going to be, I think that the Broncos offense is going to continue to struggle with Russell Wilson. I think Max Crosby and Chandler Jones are going to put pressure on him. And I do think the Raiders are desperate for a win. I think Derek Carr has a big game, and I do think he outplays Russell Wilson at home. And that's why I got the Raiders beating the Broncos 23-17. But Justin, can Russell Wilson lead the Broncos to their third straight win?
I got the Raiders as well, 21-17 at desperate. Hector's on the Raiders too, it looks like. I think for the Raiders, it's just a desperation game. Mark Davis already had a sit-down meeting with McDaniels after the loss Sunday. So I think the Raiders had to win this one. And, I think the Broncos right now, they got lucky to win Sunday night. I think Wilson's going to have a tough day against that Raiders front, that defensive line. I think he's going to get a lot of pressure on them. Again, they're not great in the secondary, so if you can have time to get rid of it. But Russell Wilson really hasn't looked great so far this year. I think the Raiders find a way. I just think they're too talented to go 0-4.
We got an NFC matchup in Carolina as the Cards travel down to Carolina to face the Panthers. I think this is a close, competitive game, but I'm going with the team with the better quarterback, and I'm going with Kyler Murray. I do think that, the McCaffrey will have a good game against the Cardinals defense, but I do think Baker Mayfield makes a couple mistakes in this game, throws a couple picks, and I do think Kyler Murray throws a couple touchdowns. I think this is a close, competitive game at the end, but I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback. That's why I got the Cardinals beating the Panthers 26-21. But Justin, can Baker Mayfield lead the Panthers to their second consecutive win?
I do have the Panthers win this one 20-17. I think Baker, he's not played well. He's only completing 51% of his passes. That has to get a lot better. They got to do a lot better job of protecting him as well. But I haven't liked the way the Cardinals have played at all either. I think Carolina forces a couple of turnovers that, help out Baker Mayfield this week. They do enough. The line seems weird too, that Carolina's favorite, but I haven't liked Arizona's really played one good half, that comeback against there in the Raiders in week 2. And I think Carolina finds a way at home to figure out the way to win. I think Baker plays well enough to win the game.
We got a rematch of the NFC Championship game as the Rams travel to Santa Clara to face the 49ers. And I think it's just going to be kind of like the NFC Championship game. Close, competitive, a defensive game. But I think the difference in this game is going to be, I do think with Trent Williams out, the Rams D-line is going to get more pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo than the Niners D-line is going to get on Matthew Stafford. I think both quarterbacks have not played great so far this year, even though Garoppolo struggled against the Broncos on Sunday night, and Stafford has struggled through the first 3 games of the season. But I do think that the Rams will run it a little bit better, and I do think they'll get a little bit more protection. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And I got the same score as the NFC Championship game. I got the Rams beating the Niners 20-17 on Monday night. But Justin, can the Niners get revenge on what happened last year in the NFC Championship game?
I think they do. I get the Niners win this one 21-17. I don't think Jimmy G looks as bad as he did the other night. I think he does play a little bit better. Yeah, it's going to hurt not having Trent Williams, but I think they run the ball well enough. Shanahan's had McVay's number. He's 7-4 now against them. I haven't liked the Rams the way they've played either this year. I think the Rams settled for a couple field goals in this game. And And I just think Jimmy G just plays a little bit better than Matthew Stafford. I just haven't liked it. Again, if the Niners could slow down Cooper Kupp in this one just a little bit, I think they find a way to get this one.
Yeah, you said Shanahan definitely has had McVay's number. He won 6 straight games before the NFC title game last year. So yeah, I could very easily see the Niners winning. But I think that injury to Trent Williams is going to be a really, really big loss. With them out 4 to 6 weeks, especially with them not having a mobile quarterback and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I definitely think it's definitely gonna be tough for the Niners. Because he is one of the better offensive linemen in the entire game. He's definitely right up there. So I think that definitely will be tough. The Niners again, just another poor injury luck. But yeah, I think Jimmy G's probably gonna make that one interception that he probably shouldn't make. But I still think that Niners defense finds a way to make a couple of stops for them. Again, they played really well Sunday night, and just the one drive late in that game where the Broncos finally found some success, kind of beat them there. I think this Niners team finds a way this week to get those stops. I think the defense kind of steps up for the offense, and that's they'll find a way to win.
Yeah, it should be a really, really good game between these two NFC West rivals on Monday night. But the Yankees are division champs. Aaron Judge still chasing 62. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEG's Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEG's Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut.
So last night, the Yankees, for the first time, for only the second time in 10 years, they won the American League East. They beat the Blue Jays 5-2. Now they are the American League East champions. And you heard Boone last night after the game. He celebrated this. I mean, you heard him last night after the game. A lot of people, us included, pick other teams to win this division. I think I picked Tampa to win the division in the offseason. A lot of people picked Toronto. Some people picked the Red Sox. So this is an accomplishment. This is an accomplishment for this Yankee team that people going into the year didn't expect to win the AL East.
It absolutely is. Toronto. I thought this team was the 4th best team in the division coming in. So yeah, it's crazy that they've only won it twice in the last decade. But yeah, it's kind of they've gotten a lot of wild card spots. So yeah, I get why they should celebrate it. Again, they were off to a historic start. I know they kind of struggled there, kind of in the summer months, but they found a way to kind of get it. They kind of were in control most of the year, and a couple of weeks ago, it got down to 4 or 5 games, and or 6 games. They got a little kind of, got a little interesting, but they found a way to kind of get through it, and they deserve it. They've had a really great year, but I know everybody knows in that clubhouse that there's bigger goals besides just winning the division.
There absolutely are. There absolutely are bigger goals outside of winning the division. I think the big question is what would be a successful season? How far does this team have to get in the playoffs for this team to have a successful season? If they lose in the first round, for me, I think it's kind of in the middle where it's not completely a success, but it's a little bit. I think they've ended that this is a disappointing season. I think that's out the window. Now that they've won the division, I think that's out the window that it's a disappointing season. I think it's kind of in the middle of a successful and a disappointing season if they lose in the first round. But don't forget, even if they do lose in the first round, they did get further than they did last year. If they get to the ALCS for me, then I would completely consider this a successful season. I know it would be a loss to the Astros if they lose, probably a loss to the Astros again if they lose, but I would consider this a successful season if they do get to the ALCS. What would be considered a successful season for you, Justin?
I hate to say, but it's ALCS. I want to say it's World Series or bust, but I didn't have those expectations coming to the year. So I kind of feel like now I can't I can't, sit here because I think, I can't sit here think, or say that they should win the World Series. But I think if they get there, it would have kind of, being all of our expectations, being off the historic start. But yeah, nobody really had World Series on their mind going in. I know the Yankees organization kind of say World Series or bust, but they haven't won one in 13 years. So I can't, again, it hasn't been an organization that's won in a while. So I do think it's ALCS, would be a good year as long as they don't get swept. If they go 6-7 games, the Astros, they battle out, they lose a couple close games. Like if they matched Houston toe to toe, I'll say it's a successful season.
You're going to have a lot of people that say World Series are bust because of the historic start they had. That's why a lot of people are going to say World Series are bust. But for me, I go back to the beginning of the season where a lot of people were not picking the Yankees to win the AL East. That's why, call me crazy, but even if they lose a tough 5-game series to Cleveland, I would still consider the season successful because they still won the toughest division in the sport. They won the toughest division in the sport, a division that in the preseason, a lot of people didn't expect them to win. I know I'm in the minority there. I think if they lose in the first round, a lot of people say the season's a total failure. I don't think the season's a total failure if they lose in the first round because of the expectations going into the season. The reason why a lot of people will call it a failure if they don't win the World Series is because of how well they played in the first half. But I think this is still a successful season. And even if they do lose in the first round, I wouldn't mind bringing everything back, as long as they sign Judge.
I think they got to get past the first round. Like, I don't think it'd be good to lose to Cleveland. I think you got to get to the LCS. And I know Cleveland's been playing really well, and Frank Cohen is one of the best managers in the game. And, and that Indian team that Guardians team's played really well all year. But I think you got to get to the Astros. I think you got to get the LCS. I know I think it'd be a down. I know for the expectations and all that, it was kind of getting in the wild card, but I feel like they're better than, they have a better roster than the Guardians though. Again, I don't know if their pitching staff, it'll be a tough pitching matchup or pitching staff to get through the Guardians is, but I call it a failure unless you get the LCS. I think this team's got to get there. I really do. Because I don't think I had him in the wild card, but I know a lot of people have him in the wild card round. I think you got to get through that. I think if you get through that, or they should be in the. They should get past that, or they shouldn't be in the wild card round. They're going to get the second spot, but so you got to, I think, got to win the LDS. And win that this year to kind of be successful. I just think I know the expectation and all that, but I think, they're better than a lot than like a Cleveland team. I think they should even beat a Toronto or Tampa Bay. I know Gladstone's coming back today, but McClanahan's out, Brandon Lau's out. I think you should beat some of those teams.
Yeah, I think if they get into the wild card, because they're going to be the number 2 seed, so they're probably going to play the Mariners or the Indians. And I get your point; they probably should win that. So it'd definitely be a little bit I'd say it'd be disappointing if they don't get out of the first round. I wouldn't say it's a total failure because they won the toughest division in the sport, but I think it would be disappointing if they don't get out of the first round. But if they get to the ALCS, it's a successful season for me. Yeah,
it is, and I hate saying that because I want to see this team win a World Series, and they should, but yeah, I think it is because our expectations weren't there at the beginning. And this team again in the year that, and I feel like too, if we going World Series a bust in the year you kind of had with Judge, and it's a season that who knows the next time we're going to see somebody have the offensive numbers that he's put up in this day and age. So I feel like too, if you kind of count this as a failure year, if they don't get the World Series and win it, you're kind of
I mean, think of the World Series, it's completely a successful season. They haven't been there in 13 years. They get to the World Series and they lose to the Dodgers in like 6 or 7 games. That's a successful year. I don't want to hear the nonsense about championship or bust at that point. If they get to a World Series, that's a successful year, hands down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I meant like if they don't win the World Series, but they get there and they call it people call it a failure. It's just like what Judge did this year was just so impressive. It's like you want to kind of throw all those memories away because it's something that we should be kind of grateful the year that we've seen Judge have, because we haven't seen those type of numbers be put up. And I feel like, you kind of throw this year away and all that. It was a pretty cool season to kind of see the start they got off to, the way Judge the way Judge was locked in all year. But yeah, I think ALCS, you got to get there to for a successful season.
So now talking about Judge, he is still on his chase for 62 home runs. And here's the big thing. As a Yankee fan, and I'm gonna and I can speak on this too as a Yankee fan. Do you want him to do it at home? Do you want him to do it this weekend at home against Baltimore, or do you mind him, getting it over with tonight, hitting those 2 home runs and getting over with tonight? I kind of want him to at least get the 62nd at home. Yeah,
I'm with you. At least get I think with that crowd, I think it'd be really cool to get the second one at home. If you get one tonight, great. Again, hopefully he just gets some pitches to actually hit because he really hasn't had some. Last, being walked 4 times yesterday. So, yeah, hopefully he gets some pitches to hit. It would be really cool to see him be able to do it at home. I know we all want to see against the Red Sox this weekend. It didn't happen, but yeah, I think it'll be more, it might be for him to be more meaningful in front of it at Yankee Stadium. So, yeah, it'd be cool to see him do it, at Yankee Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think he's pressing a little bit that he's been stuck on? Do you think he's pressing a little bit, but that he's stuck now that he's stuck with him being stuck on 60, or or teams just not giving him a lot to hit? I feel like teams are just not giving him anything to hit.
Yeah, I'm with you there because I don't think he's not expanding the zone at all. He hasn't done that all year, really. I don't think he's at bat to change. He's been patient up there. He's waiting for his pitches, and what was this yesterday? The other day, he was kind of talking about I don't hit home runs. The pitchers kind of throw me the home runs, So I think he's just waiting for that pitch, and I don't think he's pressing at all because he's not expanding the zone. He doesn't look jittery up there. He's being patient. So no, he's looked like the same Aaron Judge all year. I don't, he's kind of looking like I don't think he's pressing all. He just has not got much to hit lately.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So we'll see if he gets it. I really want him to get it at home this week, but it would be nice if he hits 2 tonight and gets it over with so the Yankees could rest up and get ready for get that over with and get ready for the postseason. But we got a huge series this weekend between the Mets and the Braves. Right now, those 2 teams are tied for first place in the NL East, and you want to win. You want to win the NL East. You want to win the NL East. You don't want to be playing that wild card series against the Padres starting next Friday. You don't want to be in that series. So you definitely want to win the NL East. And the pitching matchups this weekend for that series in Atlanta, you got Chris Bassett and Max Fried going in Game 1, Jacob deGrom and Kyle Wright going in Game 2, and then you got Scherzer against Morton in Game 3. I look at these matchups, and I look at the 2 teams and I look at the Braves being at home, and I'm going with the Braves. I think the Braves win. I think the Braves take 2 out of 3 in this series, and I think the Braves win the National League Eastern Division. And there's a very good chance I think the Braves get back to the World Series because they've been playing so well in the second half of the season. And I feel like they're the better team in the Mets. They got outside of the rotation, I think they got a better bullpen, and they definitely have a better lineup than the Mets. That's why I think the Braves take 2 out of 3, and they win the NL East.
I'm actually going to take the Mets this weekend.
Ooh, you're taking the Mets.
I think with DeGrom and Scherzer, I think those two horses.
But DeGrom was terrible. He was absolutely terrible against the A's.
He was. But the chances he's bad again this week against the A's, against the Braves this weekend, I think I'd be shocked if he doesn't pitch well again this week against the Braves this weekend, knowing what it means, for them this year. So I'm going to take the Mets. I think with him and Scherzer, they've been, they're both so good. Again, I know Wright's been good too for the Braves. Their rotation has been really good as well. But I'll take the Mets. I know they've, for the most part, been in this division, control all of it all year. I know the lineup's kind of been struggling. The Braves have been on fire since June. They've played some amazing baseball, pretty much like they did. They got hot last year. It never cooled off. But I think with the 2 guys starting, Diaz can get there. If they could just find a guy to bridge the 7th to 8th inning for him, get the Diaz. I think they find a way to go to Atlanta and get 2 or 3. They've had it since day one. I think they find a way to the Mets find a way to close it out. And if the Mets just take 1 of 2 this weekend, and they end up tying. They did win the season series, so the Mets do have that kind of control there as well with the tie, with the no game 163. So if it does come down to tie at the end, the Mets would get if they just won 1 game this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely could see both teams winning. I mean, Buck Sherwalter has changed the culture there with the Mets. Steve Cohen, because the owner, they went out and spent. They went out, obviously traded for Lindor, then paid Lindor this offseason, and then they went out and got Max Scherzer. The culture's changed with the Mets. They're legit. But I just got to go with the team with a little bit more experience. But it is getting back to how it was in the 90s when Bobby V and Bobby Cox were there with the Mets and Braves. This rivalry is definitely back, and it's really exciting to see these two teams go at it. But I just got to go with the team with a little bit more experience. That's why I'm going with the Braves this weekend.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You know, the Braves are a great team. They've been playing well. They're defending champs. You know, Cuneo's played well. They got an amazing lineup. So, yeah, you know, I'll going to take Buck this weekend in that Mets team. I think they find a way. I just feel like it's different this year with the Mets. I think with that rotation, because I know we'll get to play the postseason, but I don't think the Giants are going to get out of the NL National League this year. I really don't with that pitching staff. So, I think this year is different for the Mets, and I think they find a way to win that division.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens this weekend. Before we wrap with baseball, we're going to talk about the NL wildcard race. I'm thinking the Padres are going to make the playoffs. I think they got a pretty comfortable lead. They're up 4 games over the Brewers with 8 games to play. But I think the real race is who's going to get that last spot, the Phillies or the Brewers. And if you look at the Phillies have a 1.5 lead, even though they've lost 3 in a row, they lead by 1.5 games. And if you look at who the Phillies got left, the Phillies they're on the road. They at the Cubs for 2 more with the Cubs, at the Nationals for 4, and then at the Astros, which by that point, I don't think things are going to matter for the Astros. So I do think the Phillies win 7 out of their last 9, and I think they get that wild card spot because I think the Brewers win. They have it pretty easy too. Outside of playing the Cardinals today, they got the 4 with the Marlins and 3 with the D-backs. I think they go 6-2, but I think ultimately the Phillies take advantage of playing the Nationals and Cubs, even though they're on the road. And I think the Phillies are the team that gets that last wild card spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Up 1.5 games right now with that schedule. I think they should be okay. And the Phillies did win the season series, I believe, 4-2, I believe. So the Phillies will have that tiebreaker as well if it goes down to that.
So there's no 1-game playoff?
No, they're getting rid of that because of the wild card.
Wow.
So that's why they're doing the whole interleague. That's why everyone's playing each other next year. So for tiebreak and best head to head. That's why they're doing that starting next year, I guess. That's the reason.
Wow. So there's no 1-game playoff because they want them to have that day off on Thursday, I bet.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll kind of miss that. Those 1 game 163s, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think the Phillies with that schedule, I think Houston got to win 1 more. I think to get the best record. They're very close. So yeah, by the time next week, Houston's probably gonna be resting everybody. They're probably gonna get Phillies are probably gonna face a couple of their worst pitchers. They may call somebody up, who knows? But yeah, I think game 1.5 lead. I think the Phillies find a way to hold on to that wild card lead.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the Phillies make their first playoff appearance since the 2011 season. But we got a pretty good week of college football this week. Got a huge matchup in the ACC on Saturday night. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at Shamrock Home Inspections.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, we got week 5 of the college football season, and it starts on Friday night with a big matchup between Washington and UCLA, and I think this is a game up and down the field. I think it's up and down the field between these two teams. Penix has a big game. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson and what's the right name? Shea Burnett. Charbonnet has a big game on the ground. I think it's back and forth. UCLA wants they actually have the personnel to do this. Ball control, keep the offense off the field, keep Penix off the field. But Chip Kelly just refuses to do that. He's just going to run a play like every 2 seconds. And I think Washington wins this game. I think they win it 35-31. But Justin, the big question is, can Chip get UCLA to 5-0?
I don't think so. always been a big Chip fan, but I think this is a very fraudulent 4-0 team. They really haven't get tested yet at all this year. They survived South Alabama a couple weeks ago. This is going to be a tough one. Michael Penix Jr. is just, again, he's looked amazing. Kellen DeBoer, the Washington head coach, he's 83-9 his career as a head coach. This Washington team's legit. They win tonight, or they win Friday night. They should be 9-0 going to Eugene there on November the 12th. I think Jordan Robinson protected the football this year. But, yeah, I don't think you want to get in track meet with this Washington team. Polk, their wide receiver for Washington, he's a speed burner, deep threat that I think Washington have a big day getting him the ball. And UCLA, too, they don't draw anybody. I don't know how many fans will get there Friday night. There'll be no home field advantage there for the Bruins. So I'll take Washington. That team is legit.
You definitely brought up the crowd. They will have no home field. Even though the team is 4-0 and playing well, they have no home field advantage at the Rose Bowl.
No. It's a great stadium. It's too bad. But, yeah, there's a lot better thing probably to do than to go watch UCLA football. Now, again, maybe because the Friday nights Washington, maybe they draw some people, but yeah, I think they're a half an hour away from campus too. So it's one of those things that, there's probably better things to do. So hopefully maybe Friday night with Washington coming in, they'll get a good crowd.
We got a Big Ten matchup in Iowa City at Kinnick Stadium as the number 4 Michigan Wolverines face the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I think the Iowa's defense is going to keep them in the game. You got J.J. McCarthy playing a game on the road. Michigan's had a pretty easy schedule so far, so I do think Iowa stays in the game. But I'm not picking against a guy like Blake Corum in this game. I think he has another big game on the ground, and I don't think Iowa's offense does enough. That's why I got Michigan winning 24-17 over Iowa. But, Justin, can the Hawkeyes upset Michigan just like they did the last time the Wolverines traveled to Kinnick Stadium?
Yeah, Kinnick Stadium's been tough. I think Iowa's won 5 of the last 6, I believe, when they post the top 5 opponents. So that's been a tough place to play for top teams. But I don't think Iowa's offense can move the football. And Michigan's offense, again, I thought they looked pretty good against Maryland last week. Their defense wasn't great. I think they find a way to win this game. I got them winning 20-10. I think Blake Corum on the ground is enough. I just don't, as long as J.J. McCarthy doesn't throw a couple interceptions this game, I think they win. The Michigan's defense, I know it didn't play great last week, but I think they play a lot better this week. Iowa would rather play defense than they would play offense. Like they'd rather just punt and just play defense and force a couple turnovers to win a game. And that doesn't work in 2022, especially at college, especially the college level. So I got Michigan win this game.
We got an SEC matchup in Oxford as Kentucky faces Ole Miss. Here's the one thing I don't get. I don't get why Ole Miss is a 6.5-point favorite. That's complete disrespect for Kentucky right there. Kentucky went into the swamp and pulled. I know Florida's not that good, but Kentucky went into the swamp and pulled an upset earlier in the season. Who is Ole Miss beaten? And they lost their starting quarterback. Jackson Dart is not Matt Corral, and that's why I got Kentucky winning this game. They're going to get Chris Rodriguez back this week. I got Kentucky winning this game. I think Will Levis outplays Jackson Dart. I think it's a close competitive game because I do like Lane Kiffin, but I got Kentucky staying undefeated, beating Ole Miss this week. But, Justin, can Lane get Ole Miss to 5-0?
I get the Wildcats too. I love Mark Stoops in that team. Yeah, I don't understand what that line, especially because Chris Rodriguez is coming back this week from Kentucky. Because they haven't been able to run the football, but getting Rodriguez back is really going to help that. I don't get that because since 2020, when Kentucky played Bama, Florida back-to-back weeks, they got killed both those games. They're 16-3 since that point. There's not enough respect given around to Kentucky, what Mark Stoops has built there at Kentucky. He's already the all-time winning leader there. But, yeah, in this game, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin is very different formula this year. They run the football really well. Jackson Dart really hasn't developed as a passer. Their defense is pretty good. Lane Kiffin actually has a defense for the first time, and I don't know how long. We're going to find out a lot about them this week. But
yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we have a defense this week.
Yeah, it's definitely better than it was last year. I know it couldn't get worse, but I really do like that defense. A lot of speed. Couple guys back, but at running back, it's been, Krishan Jenkins, who was a 3-star coming out this year. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. And then the transfer out of TCU, Zach Evans, who's the number 1 running back out of 2021's class. He's averaging 6.2 yards a carry. They've been great on the ground, but I think Kentucky, Kentucky wants to play physical up front. I think they slow that down enough. I think Will Levis gets the ball to Tavion Robinson and Dane K enough that I think they go on the road to Ole Miss and win this game. I don't understand the line either, but I'm going to take Mark Stoops. I think he's one of the best in the game. The last time they played back in 2020 was a 42-41 OT win there for Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. Be fun if it's that close again, but I do expect this game to be close, go down the wire, but I'll take Levis over Jackson Dart.
We got a Big 12 matchup in Fort Worth as Oklahoma tries to bounce back from their loss last week against TCU. No, I mean against Kansas State, and they play TCU this week. And I think they do. I think Dylan Gabriel bounces back this week. I know TCU's 3-0, but they really haven't played anyone. That's why I got Oklahoma winning at 31-20 over TCU this week. But Justin, can TCU get to 4-0?
I don't think so. I got OU bouncing back 42-31. TCU right now second in the country in yards per play, but again, they really haven't been tested either yet. I think we're going to find a lot about the Horned Frogs this week. Max Duggan has played really, really well. It looks like he really fits that run and shoot offense that Sonny Dykes has come in and played. Keandre Miller, their running back, has looked really solid. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. TCU, I think, is going to be able to put up some points. I thought OU's defense, I thought Brent Venables had that defense playing a lot better going into last week. I think they do play better this week. I don't think Brett Venables is going to let that defense play as bad as they did, Saturday night against K-State. But I just think, I don't know if TCU is going to be able to keep, Dylan Gabriel off the field. TCU's defense, I don't think is any good. Again, they got tested last week against SMU a little bit, but again, we'll find a lot about the Horned Frogs this week, especially on both sides of the ball. I don't think TCU is going to stop Oklahoma whatsoever this week.
Yeah, I agree. We got the big game in the SEC as undefeated Alabama, number 2 in the country, faces Arkansas, lost a brutal game at Jerry World last week against Texas A&M. And I think this game is close and competitive. I do think Bryce Young isn't going to be great because he is going to struggle with his new receivers. I think KJ Jefferson's going to make some plays too, but I think also KJ Jefferson's going to make a mistake or two. I think Bryce Young is going to make less mistakes in this game. And that's why I think Alabama is going to pull off another close one on the road. I got Alabama beating Arkansas 28-23. But Justin, can KJ Jefferson bounce back and lead the Razorbacks to an upset win over Alabama?
It's going to be a tough one at home, but I got the Crimson Tide finding a way to win this game 35-27. We're going to find out a lot about Alabama coming up. They got A&M next week, and then they go to Tennessee. On the road.
That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough one. The way Hendon Hooker's playing, that's going to be a tough one.
Yep, I know. At the moment, I'm like, I definitely think Tennessee can win that game and pull that upset off right now. But we'll see how Alabama's grown since that Texas game. They haven't played well on the road the last couple of years. I think Arkansas definitely keeps this close. The thing, too, is Arkansas up front is very, very good on both sides of the ball. But defensively, in this case, Alabama's offensive line struggled against Texas. Their secondary, though, for Arkansas is just so bad that I think Bryce Young's going to put up some points, and it's going to do enough to win this game. But, yeah, I think for KJ Jefferson, I think, he's got to protect the football. Again, Arkansas was a better team last week. It's just the month of September of college football, it's like, what team makes the less mistakes in the crucial time kind of wins the game. Arkansas didn't do that last week. I think, KJ Jefferson plays well. And he gets his ball to the receivers, Rocket Sanders with his running back, explosive KJ Jefferson. If they can kind of keep Alabama on their toes, I think they got a good shot. But I just think Alabama is a little bit too talented for the Razorbacks. Yeah,
it should be a great game though, and really for Alabama, if they beat Arkansas and they beat Tennessee, I think they're going undefeated. I think they're going undefeated, and they'll probably be undefeated facing Georgia in the SEC title game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they get through these next couple of weeks here. I think they will because, we'll find a lot about Ole Miss this week, and they do have to go to Oxford. Lane Kiffin would love to knock off Saban, but what the stunts he pulled off last year, I don't think he'll be able to do it. Yeah, and I think this is probably I don't think there's a team that will beat them in November outside of maybe Ole Miss. So yeah, these next couple of weeks for the Crimson Tide are really crucial. I completely agree. They go undefeated. They'll meet with destiny with Georgia once again.
We got a Big 12 matchup in Waco as Oklahoma State travels to Baylor in a rematch of the Big 12 championship game last year. And I do still think Baylor does it again. I think they beat Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State is 3-0, but They lost a lot on defense last year. Quarterback's good, not great. I think this is a close competitive game, but I'm going to take the Baylor Bears to beat Oklahoma State for the second year in a row. But Justin, can Oklahoma State get revenge on what Baylor did to them in the Big 12 title game?
I don't think they do. I got Baylor win this one 27-21. Spencer Sanders has looked pretty good this year, but 7 of his 12 interceptions last year came in those 2 games against Baylor. They really had his number last year. Again, Oklahoma State didn't play anybody within the last couple weeks either, so we're going to find a lot about them as well. As you mentioned, they lost a lot defensively. They lost their defense coordinator, Jim Knowles, to Ohio State. I don't think, this Oklahoma State team's going to do enough. I was really impressed with Baylor last week again. They played well against good Iowa State team and a tough place to play. I'll take Baylor at home this week to get it done 27-21.
We got an ACC matchup in Tallahassee as Sam Hartman and the Demon Deacons face Jordan Travis and Mike Norvell and the Florida State Seminoles. And I think it's a high-scoring game, but I'm going to take the home team. I'm going with Jordan Travis and Mike Norvell to start 5-0 because I don't like Wake's defense at all. And I think Sam Hartman is another big game, but I think it's another game Wake loses because of their defense. That's why I got Florida State going to 5-0. But Justin, can Sam Hartman and the Demon Deacons bounce back this week and hand Florida State their first loss?
I get the Seminoles as well, 38-30. Jordan Travis, I think, he's really developed as a passer, that dual threat. He hasn't ran as much either as he has the last couple of years too, which I think really helped as well. He's been much better in the pocket. Yeah, I can't trust Wake Forest to get a stop. They've given up 87 points the last couple of weeks. Florida State, this is a huge year for Norvell because I think Deion Sanders is going to get that Power 5 gig. And if Florida State didn't kind of live up and get better, they were going to go try to swoop in and get Deion before he goes anywhere else. But I think Norvell's the guy. I think they're playing really, really well. They got NC State and Clemson coming up after this. So couple big tests here. You want to get this one. And actually, with Sam Hartman, I know because we were talking about it Saturday, I don't know if he doesn't get a lot of, attention from the scouts because I don't know if it's their offenses they run. Just because it's not a real NFL offense. I don't know. Maybe if scouts just don't think he'll be able to run an NFL offense. I don't know. I was thinking about that more afterwards, but I don't know.
Yeah, because he had a huge game game against a good Clemson defense, and I think he should be a first-round pick.
No, I'm with you. I don't know. That was maybe just because of the offense they run. They just don't. Some scouts just don't know if he'll be able to kind of go to a more pro-style kind of offense. I don't know. That was the only thing I could really think of. I don't know why scouts aren't really that high on him.
Yeah, because I definitely think he should be a first-round pick. But moving on to the big game on Saturday night, as we got NC State and Clemson going at it. NC State beat Clemson last year at NC State, but this year, with the game being at Clemson and with DJ being much improved, I think Clemson wins this game by 2 scores. I think DJ has a big game. I think he throws a couple touchdown passes, and I think this Clemson defense forces Devin Leary to make a couple mistakes. That's why I got Clemson winning at 31-17 over NC State. But Justin, can NC State beat Clemson for the second year in a row?
I got the Wolfpack.
Whoa! In Clemson?
Yeah.
On a Saturday night in Clemson?
Yeah, 27-21. I still don't. I know DJ put really well. I thought he looked a lot more confident, but that's Wake Forest. I got to see it against a great NC State secondary, who they're third in the country this year when allowing completion 10 yards or plus downfield. I think that NC State secondary is going to give him a fit. I think at linebacker too with Thomas. I think NC State's going to give him some problems. Will Shipley looks a lot better running back, but this NC State defense is really, really good. I got to see DJ look the part against this defense. And for Devin Leary and that NC State offense, I don't like Clemson's secondary. I don't think that secondary is very good. Xavier Thomas on the defensive end should be coming back to up front. I think, they'll do fine, but I don't trust the back end. I don't think they're young and experienced. I think Leary has if he wants to kind of put the attention on the map and for draft position, I think he's got to come out and play well. I think he does. And Clemson's won 15 straight Saturday night games. The last time they lost was 2013 when James Winston went in there. They won 51-14.
Yeah,
I don't remember. I don't know. You remember that one where Clemson, they had that 20-minute presentation of walking on the field and all that and the buses and all that. And James Winston was sitting there with Calvin Benjamin. They were laughing because they were on the field. I just remember that game vividly. And I think NC State goes on the road. I think they knock them off. I still don't believe in Clemson. I still think they're a little bit fraudulent. Give me the Wolfpack. I love this NC State team.
I just don't. I mean, NC State almost lost to ECU on the road. I just can't see this team going into Clemson with Clemson having improved quarterback play on a Saturday night. I just can't see them going into Clemson and winning this game.
I'm with you. Yeah, they did not look good. The extra point there, the East Carolina kicker missed there. Again, who knows what happened? But we really haven't seen NC State. They look good against Texas Tech, but prime middle pack Big 12 team. I think they do enough this week. I think Leary plays well. I still just don't trust DJ enough. Yeah, I think he's looked better, but I got to see the part against an NC State defense like this.
We'll see. It should be a great game on Saturday night. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking Week 5 of the NFL season, Week 6 of the college football season, and the beginning of the baseball playoffs. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part. Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the poles, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group, and here at CMG we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men, and great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.